with make atonement. If you decided to translate every time that verb occurred with make atonement, then you come with this, that by doing this, he made atonement for the Israelites. Really meaning turning away the wrath of God so the plague was stopped for the Israelites. How? By putting to death public representative sinners. Their death was sufficient punishment for the rest. So first we're going to look at this on the guilty side, the wicked side, then we're going to look at the power of this on the righteous side. So if death could serve as a payment for an individual specific sin, then in the case of a specific corporate sin, the death of the ringleaders could serve as a payment for the specific sins of the community as a whole. We can understand that. Even Israel dealing with terrorists is often after the leaders, and sometimes by punishing them, it will take away the heart of the people, even psychologically. But this is more than that. This is to say representative public sinners are punished for a crime, and because of that, God's wrath withdraws from a community as a whole. And again, it's the same root concept as that stopped the plague when incense was taken with fires from the altar, that would withhold the plague when the people were being numbered, that would bring cleansing and purification for the people. Same root involved. So that's the power of the death of the wicked ringleader, public offender. What about the death of the righteous? What would happen if a righteous leader has his whole community threatened? And people want to kill his community. And he says, take my life. Take my life, but let them go. His life would have enough power. Think of Catholicism. 1 billion Catholics. Think if someone was threatening, someone hated Catholics and hated the Catholic Church and had at one time had taken hostages around the world, 100,000 Catholics, and they were all going to be brutally killed, and the Pope said, take my life, kill me, but let them go. That, in a certain level, would be a far greater prize for those that hated the Catholic Church, and the death of the Pope would allow these others to go free. You could take Hasidic Jews and their Rebbe, their Grand Master. They would all say, kill us, but don't kill him. Let our lives go. And if he said, no, let them go. Take my life and let my community go. His death would have that power. And these are just things we can understand socially. So again, from a biblical perspective, in God's sight, the lives of his righteous servants have great value and their deaths carry great weight. That's why those that walk closely with him can intercede. That's why those that walk closely with him have his ear. Because our lives are pleasing in his sight, or your lives are pleasing in his sight, and you can go to him, and he listens. So in God's sight, the lives of his righteous servants have great value, and their deaths carry great weight. That's why Jewish tradition is filled with references to the merits of the patriarchs or the merits of the righteous. And there's no life more valuable than the life of the Messiah. What does he say in Mark 10:45? He didn't come to be served, but to serve, and to give his life as a ransom for many. To give his life as a ransom for many. So let me just step back and explain this concept again. Someone sins, they pay for their sins. Consequence of sins is death. They say, may my death be an atonement. May it be the final payment for my sin. The concept is then someone who is righteous or a little child who is innocent, they die not because of their own sin, not because of their own wickedness. Therefore, they can say, well, then let my death count for others. Then let my death count for the sins of the generation. Then let my death count so that you can have mercy on others. Let my punishment take the place of their punishment. But does the Bible actually explicitly teach that there can be some kind of priestly intercession or priestly substitution that can bring forgiveness or turn away wrath that can actually come on the people themselves? When we had the example from 2 Samuel 21 where the descendants of Saul were killed by the Gibeonites, and after that God answered prayer. We did have Numbers 25 where it specifically uses the root lichaper to make atonement, expiation, turn away wrath. When Zimri and Cosby were speared to death, the plague stops. Let's take a look a little bit at the priests and Levites. Let's look at their function. Let's try to understand this a little bit better. Numbers chapter 8. We've seen the principle that the sacrificial system was based on life for life. Sacrificial animal suffering on behalf of the guilty sinner or the guilty community. We've even seen rabbinic tradition recognizing that that parallels the death of the righteous. Now let's take a look at Numbers chapter 8. Everyone turn there with me. Numbers 8. This speaks of the setting apart of the Levites. Verse 10, you are to bring the Levites before the Lord, and the Israelites are to lay their hands on them. Aaron is to present the Levites before the Lord as a wave offering from the Israelites so that they may be ready to do the work of the Lord. Now, verse 12. After the Levites lay their hands on the heads of the bulls, use the one for a sin offering to the Lord and the other for a burnt offering to make atonement for the Levites. So hang on. What happens here? The people lay their hands on the Levites as their representatives who are given up as a wave offering to the Lord. The Levites lay their hands on the bulls, which are used as a sin offering. Then go down to verse 19. Of all the Israelites, I have given the Levites as gifts to Aaron and his sons to do the work at the tent of meeting on behalf of the Israelites and to make atonement for them so that no plague will strike the Israelites when they go near the sanctuary. There's atonement in the concept of a plague, yet again, turning away wrath. Listen to this. I've given the Levites as gifts to Aaron and his sons to do the work at the tent of meeting on behalf of the Israelites. Remember, the Israelites laid their hands on the Levites, just as the Levites laid their hands on the offerings. To make atonement for them so that no plague will strike the Israelites when they go near the sanctuary. So the Levites themselves are representatives for the people. The Levites, so to say, are lightning rods to turn away wrath. If an Israelite goes near the community, the Levite spiritually takes the place. Listen to what Jacob Milgrom says, one of the top scholars in this field. Numbers 8:19 would then imply that the Levites are ransom for Israel, a lightning rod to attract God's wrath upon themselves whenever an Israelite encroached among the sancta, the holy places. So the Levites are a lightning rod to attract God's wrath upon themselves whenever an Israelite violated the holy place. Israelites lay their hands on the Levites who take their place. Levites lay their hands on the offerings who take their place. The Levites are as if they were the offering of the Israelites. Someone from Israel, an Israelite, goes and touches things that he ought not in the sanctuary. That should bring